Hello and welcome to the history of cinemas in Greater London north of the Thames River for 1930 to 1939. 1930. The Plaza Super Cinema in Romford opens on January 20th. On September 1st, the Carlton Cinema in Islington opens. The Granada Cinema in Walthamstow is opened by Granada Theatres on September 15th. The Paramount Astoria in Finsbury Park opens on September 29th. On September 30th, the Coronation Cinema in New Southgate opens. On October 11th, the Orpheum in Golders Green opens. The Old Empire in Wanstead reopens as the Kinema on October 27th. On December 6th, the Playhouse Cinema in Feltham opens. The Forum Cinema in Chelsea is opened by Y&B Theatres on December 18th. On December 22nd, the Dominion Cinema in Walthamstow opens. The Greensgate Cinema in Plaistow opens. In September, the new Gaiety Cinema in Paddington becomes the world's news theatre showing newsreel. Here are the changes for 1930. These cinemas are taken over by Associated British Cinemas. British Gaumont took over these cinemas. These cinemas closed in 1930. (1931). The Savoy Cinema in Acton opens on April 13th. The Regal Cinema in Uxbridge opens on December 26th. The Dominion Cinema in Hounslow opens on December 28th. Here are the changes for 1931. These cinemas closed in 1931. 1932. The Ambassador C opened on February 15th in Hendon. On March 14th, the Trocadero Cinema in Stratford opens. On March 28th, the massive Gaumont Palace in Hammersmith opens with 3,487 seats. In March, the ABC Empire in Islington opens. The Ritz Cinema in Edgware opens on May 2nd. On September 5th, the Avenue Theatre in Ealing opens. The Regal Cinema in Golders Green opens on September 18th. The Queen's Cinema in Bayswater opens on October 3rd. On October 8th, the Princess Cinema in Dagenham opens. The Regent in St Pancras starts to show films. Here are the changes for 1932. The Gaiety Cinema in Leytonstone closes. 1933. On January 2nd, the Luxor Cinema in Shoreditch opens. The Empire Cinema in Edmonton reopens after rebuilding on August 28. On September 11, the Troxy Sea in Stepney opens. The Ritz Sea is opened by ABC on December 21. In December, the Plaza Cinema in Walthamstow by Hamilton Cinemas Limited. Here are the changes for 1933. These cinemas are taken over by Associated British Cinemas. These cinemas are taken over by Hamilton Cinemas Limited. These cinemas closed in 1933. – 1934. The Curzon Street Cinema in Mayfair opens on March 6. On March 8, the Regal Cinema in Edmonton opens. The Gaumont Wood Green in Wood Green opens on March 26. On April 23, the Ealing Forum in Ealing opens. The Odeon Kingsbury in Kingsbury opens on May 30. The Astoria Cinema in Ruislip opens on September 24. On September 29, the Odeon Haverstock Hill in Hampstead opens. The Prince of Wales Cinema in Paddington opens on October 27. Winston Churchill opens the Majestic Theatre in South Woodford on November 5. The Fifth Rex Cinema in Stratford opens on November 5 with the organ coming from the Almira Theatre in Cleveland, Ohio, USA. On December 8, the Gaumont Palace Chelsea in Chelsea opens. The Forum Cinema in Kentish Town opens on December 17. The Royal Court Theatre in Chelsea starts to show films. Here are the changes for 1934. These cinemas were taken over by Ben J. Circuit. These cinemas closed in 1934. 1935. Odeon opens the Odeon Colindale in Colindale on January 28. ABC opens the Ritz Cinema in Nesdon on March 25. The Odeon Cinema in Barnet opens on May 15. On August 2, the Regal Cinema in Walham Green opens. The Towers C in Hornchurch opens on August 3. On August 17, the Rio Cinema in Barking opens. On September 9, the Odeon in Chingford opens. The Odeon in North Finchley opens on October 14. Also on the same day, the Dominion Cinema in Southall opens. On October 16, the Odeon Southgate opens. The Savoy Cinema in Enfield opens on October 28. On December 30th, the ABC Ritz in Haringey opens. The Grand Cinema in Harlesden becomes the Picardy Cinema. Here are the changes for 1930. These cinemas were taken over by Associated British Cinemas, ABC. These cinemas were taken over by Union Cinemas. These cinemas closed in 1935. 1936. Associated British Cinemas takes over United Picture Theatres. On January 9th, the Dominion Cinema in Harrow opens and taken over by ABC in February. The Mayfair Cinema in Stepney opens on January 29th. The Havana Cinema in Romford opens on January 29th. On March 16th, the Regal Cinema in Hackney opens. On May 14th, the Langham Cinema in Pinner opens. The Heathway Cinema in Dagenham is opened by Keswick Cinemas Limited on June 27th. The Rex Cinema in Hayes is opened by General Cinema Limited on August 6th. The Odeon Southall is opened on August 17th. London and Southern Super Cinemas Limited opens the Ambassador Cinema in Hounslow on September 7th. On September 9th, the Odeon Muswell Hill opens. The ABC Regal Cinema in Hammersmith opens on September 14th. On September 21st, the ABC Rex Cinema in Leytonstone opens. October 26th, the ABC Savoy in Stoke Newington opens. The Grosvenor Cinema in Harrow is opened on November 12th. The Granada Eastham opens on November 30th. The new Olympia Picturedrome in Shoreditch opens on December 1st. On December 21st, the ABC Ritz in Muswell Hill opens. The Endeavour Cinema in Plaistow opens. Here are the changes for 1936. These cinemas are sold to Eastern Cinemas. These cinemas are taken over by Odeon. These cinemas closed in 1936. 1937. ABC takes over Union Cinemas. The Lansdowne News Theatre in Mayfair opens on January 21st and is renamed Berkeley Cinema on June 28th. The Gaumont Palace in Camden Town opens on January 25th. In January, the King's Cinema in Forest Gate opens. The Odeon in Forest Gate opens on March 1st. The Gaumont Finchley opens on June 19th. The Odeon Harlesden opens on July 12th. The ABC Regal in Ilford opens on July 26th. On September 4th, the Odeon Swiss Cottage opens. The Dominion Cinema in Acton opens on October 19th. On October 25th, the Granada Theatre in Harrow opens. The Odeon Acton opens on November 8th. The Granada Greenford opens on November 23th. On November 27th, the Regal Cinema in Hounslow opens. The Odeon Edgware Road in Paddington opens on November 29th. In Kilburn, the Envoy Cinema opens on December 20th. The largest cinema in England, the Gaumont State Theatre opens on December 20th with 4,004 seats. The Mayfair Cinema in King's Cross opens on December 27th. Here are the changes for 1937. These cinemas became part of ABC. These cinemas became part of Clavering and Rose. These cinemas are taken over by Eastern Cinemas Limited. Odeon taken over these cinemas. These cinemas closed in 1937. 1938. The Ritz Siena in Park Royal opens on April 9th. On June 20th, the Odeon Uxbridge opens. On July 4th, the ABC Ritz in Leighton opens. The Odeon East Ham opens on July 18th. The Odeon Hackney Road opens on July 27th. The Gaumont Holloway opens on September 5th. On September 12th, the ABC Regal Harrow Road in Paddington opens. The Odeon Mile End opens on October 17th. On October 31st, the Barnet Cinema in Barnet opens, playing ABC releases. The ABC Ritz in Romford opens on November 7th. The Ambassador Theatre in Hayes opens on December 19th. Tottenham Pavilion Cinema in Tottenham becomes the Florida Cinema. Here are the changes in 1938. These cinemas closed in 1938. 1939. Construction started on Odeon Highgate in May, but was halted and used as storage for the war. It opened in 1955. On January 2nd, the Savoy Cinema in Hayes opens. The Empire Cinema in Islington reopens on February 6th. The Rex Cinema in Romford opened on April 10th. The Odeon Dalston opened on May 1st. On May 15th, the Odeon Canning Town opens. The ABC Empire Cinema in Mile End opens on June 12th. Odeon opens its last cinema before the war, the Odeon in Hendon, on August 18th. The ABC Regal Cinema in Twickenham opens on October 9th. Here are the changes for 1939. These cinemas became part of Odeon. Most of these cinemas that closed in 1939 is due to the start of the war in September. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe.